There are truths about life that most people are too distracted, too emotional, or too undisciplined to see. But once you understand them, you stop fighting the world and start mastering yourself. These truths are not mystical. They are psychological. They are philosophical. And they have existed long before the word karma ever crossed a human tongue. The philosophers who studied human nature, Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, Seneca spoke about these truths every day, and modern researchers confirm them. The emotional states we cultivate become the patterns that shape our lives. The universe does not punish, it reflects; it does not reward, it responds. And this is where the first law begins. Law 1, you do not receive what you want, you receive what you are. Most people pray for peace while feeding their mind with chaos. They ask for loyalty while acting with inconsistency. They desire respect while living without discipline. And then they complain that karma is unfair. But the world mirrors your internal state. What you are on the inside eventually becomes the story of your life. This is why the ancient philosophers warned the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. Marcus Aurelius wrote this with brutal clarity, as if warning us that the world reacts not to our wishes but to our essence. If you carry resentment, you will see enemies everywhere. If you carry fear, every obstacle will feel like a threat. If you carry strength, challenges become stepping stones. You attract your own reflection. Not because the universe plays favorites, but because your inner world shapes your decisions, your energy, your actions, and your perception. Stoic researchers explain that emotional states can prime our behavior, creating patterns we are unaware of. Meaning, you train your future every time you think, feel, or react. We must ask ourselves, what are we teaching our future to become? This law of karma demands self-control, a reorganization of our internal world, a rejection of destructive emotions, because if we do not master ourselves, we will spend our entire lives suffering from consequences we unknowingly created. The world reacts to the person you choose to be when no one is watching. That is karma, not as punishment, but as psychological inevitability. Law 2, what you allow is what will continue. The second law is darker, heavier, and even more important. Life repeats the lessons you do not confront, that if you tolerate disrespect, you will meet it again. If you ignore your own boundaries, they will continue to be crossed. If you let your emotions rule you, they will destroy what you care about. This is not fate, it is habit. Epictetus warned that every action inscribes itself on the soul, carving grooves that become difficult to escape. Researchers today say the same thing: the brain repeats patterns, even harmful ones, simply because they are familiar, not because they are good. This is why some people fall into the same toxic relationships, the same failures, the same emotional storms. Not because life cursed them, because they never changed the behavior that invited these things in. We often call it bad luck. But the truth is simpler. What we do not stop continues. The second law of karma demands courage, the courage to walk away. The courage to confront your own weaknesses. The courage to break habits that feel comfortable but destroy you slowly. Highly disciplined people understand this. They refuse to repeat the same pain twice. They do not wait for life to save them. They save themselves. In the words of Seneca, you suffer more in imagination than in reality. Most of the suffering people call karma comes from refusing to change what must be changed. When we stop tolerating disrespect from others and from ourselves, life transforms. What once drained us disappears. What once felt impossible becomes natural. We are not victims of karma. We are participants in it. And when we take responsibility for what we allow, we reclaim full control of our destiny. Law 3, the law of inner weight. You attract what your soul can carry. There is a silent law that ancient thinkers understood long before we gave names to our suffering. You do not attract what you want. You attract what your inner weight can carry. Wanting is cheap. Anyone can want peace, success, clarity, strength. But karma in its deeper psychological sense doesn't respond to our desires. It responds to our capacity. Stoic historian Pierre had once wrote that the ancient philosophers trained themselves to live from the inside outward. Meaning that life gives to each of us not according to our wishes but according to the structure of our soul. And that structure is shaped by our habits, our discipline, and the battles we fight within ourselves. This is the third law. Life will only hand us what we are built to hold. And if we are not built for it, life will crush us with its weight until we are. We think we are ready. But our character tells the truth. Many people believe they are ready for greatness. They say they want peace, but they feed their anger every night. They say they want wisdom, but they lose themselves in impulses. They say they want real love, but they cannot sit alone for 20 minutes without collapsing into neediness or fear. Epictetus warned about this when he said, "First be the person you claim to be, not after success, not after the world changes, not after someone rescues you. Now in your inner world, because karma, the psychological echo of our character, does not honor fantasies. It honors alignment. The universe does not reward wanting. It rewards becoming. The universe has no interest in giving us what will destroy us. If we are not disciplined, power becomes poison. If we are not humble, success turns into arrogance. If we are not self-controlled, freedom becomes chaos." Seneca wrote that good fortune is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. But preparation in the Stoic sense isn't external. It's a transformation of the soul. It is the slow forging of a person who is unmoved by storms because they have already conquered the storms inside themselves. We do not rise to the level of our dreams. We fall to the strength of our habits. So karma, understood as the unfolding of consequences, gives each of us exactly what those habits can sustain. If we want a bigger life, we must become a bigger vessel. Here is the uncomfortable truth we often avoid. The life we want requires a version of us we have not built yet. This is why suffering exists as a sculptor. Why disappointment arrives as a silent instructor. Why betrayal, loss, and solitude appear when we least expect them. These are not punishments. They are weight training for the soul. Marcus Aurelius said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its actions." Every time we practice self-control instead of rage, patience instead of panic, discipline instead of self-destruction, we thicken our inner structure. We increase our carrying capacity. And the moment we do, the world responds not magically, not mystically, but lawfully, like gravity. We are not waiting on life. Life is waiting on us. When we look around and see nothing changing, the easy assumption is that life is delaying us, punishing us, ignoring us. But the darker truth, the truth few dare to face, is this. Life is waiting for us to become the kind of person who can hold the life we are asking for. Karma is not a divine scoreboard. It is a mirror reflecting the structure of our soul back into the world around us. So our task is not to chase outcomes. Our task is to build inner weight, discipline, resilience, clarity, courage until life has no choice but to respond. Because when we become too strong to break, too grounded to be moved, too inwardly fortified to be manipulated, life bends toward us. Opportunities appear. People shift, paths open. Not because we wished for them, but because we finally became a vessel capable of holding them. Law 4, the law of unseen consequences. Nothing you do is ever lost. There is a law that governs every thought we think, every emotion we feed, every decision we make in the shadows. Nothing you do is ever lost, nothing disappears. Everything returns not as punishment, not as reward, but as echoes, ripples that eventually find their way back to the source, to us. This law was whispered by the ancients long before we learned to articulate it. Modern researchers on Stoic ethics like Christopher Gill note that the Stoics believe that every action we take shapes our inner character and our character shapes our destiny. The world doesn't judge us, our character does. This is the fourth law. Every moment you choose virtue or vice, discipline or impulse, clarity or chaos, you are planting seeds that will grow into your future. We think our actions are small, but the soul never forgets. We believe our daily habits are insignificant. We think a moment of anger, a day of laziness, a lie we tell ourselves, or a destructive impulse we indulge just this once will dissolve into nothing. But Marcus Aurelius warned, your life is what your thoughts make it. Not someday. Not when life gets easier. Right now, every thought is a brick. Every reaction is a thread. Every choice is a small movement in the architecture of the person we are becoming. Nothing is neutral. When we feed anger, we make anger more available. When we practice self-control, we make strength more accessible. When we choose inner peace, we make peace a muscle. Everything accumulates. This is why the Stoics trained daily. Not because the world demanded it, but because the soul never erases a single action. The world matches your inner state. Here is the part most people never understand. Life will eventually align with whatever your inner world has become. Not instantly, not dramatically, but slowly. Like water wearing down stone. If you cultivate chaos within, chaos finds you. If you build clarity within, opportunities reveal themselves. If you nurture resentment, you attract conflict. If you practice discipline, you move through life with silent force. The universe is not rewarding or punishing you. It is reflecting you. This is why Epictetus said, no great thing is created suddenly. The inner world moves first. The outer world follows. The consequences you do not see are the ones that shape you. Most of the consequences of our actions are invisible. When you resist a destructive impulse, you don't hear applause, but you have strengthened your will. When you stay calm during provocation, no one hands you a medal, but you have widened your inner space. When you choose discipline over distraction, the world doesn't reward you that second, but you have shifted your future. Stoic philosopher Donald Robertson writes that this daily training compounds over time, shaping your identity in ways you can't immediately perceive. The consequences are slow, deep, and silent, just like roots. By the time the results become visible, the transformation is already irreversible. You are always creating your future whether you notice it or not. There is no pause button. There is no neutral position. Even your silence has consequences. Even your inaction shapes your path. Every day you are either disciplining your mind or letting it decay. Either strengthening your peace or feeding your turmoil. Either sharpening your purpose or letting it rust. We do not suddenly become anything. We accumulate. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, the happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts, not your circumstances, not your past, not the people around you, your thoughts, your habits, your responses. These are the architects of your destiny. Everything you do comes back because it never left. Your actions return because they remained within you the entire time. Nothing ever vanished. Nothing was ever forgotten. Everything you fed became part of you. So if you want a different life, do not wait. Do not wish. Do not blame fate. Begin with the smallest action, the tiniest discipline, the simplest act of self-control. Because the universe is not watching your intentions. It is responding to your reality. And the moment you change your inner world, your outer world begins to shift with it.